You've been dreaming of launching your podcast, but something keeps holding you back. Maybe it's perfectionism, maybe it's overwhelm, or maybe it's just simply not knowing what you don't know. But here's the truth. Most podcasters don't struggle because their idea isn't good enough. They struggle because they unknowingly make small, tiny sabotages that impact their success right off the gate. Let's talk about it and get into this episode. Hi, my friend. My name is Simona Costantini, and I'm the founder of Volt Productions, who is bringing you this episode today. We are a full-service, top-tier podcast production agency, and we work with small business, entrepreneurs, and creators to bring their podcast to the mic by helping them start, launch, grow, and monetize their shows. I've been in the industry since 2018, and I've been doing this work since 2019, and I've helped hundreds of podcasters start, launch, grow, and monetize their show. Whether it's through a digital product or one-on-one consulting services or production work directly with my agency, we help creators tap into their full message and their full voice so that they can make the impact that they need to be making and want to be making on the airwaves. Now, today, we're going to be talking about 3 ways you may be subtly sabotaging your podcast launch. Say that 5 times fast. Oh my goodness. That's so funny. Anyways, we're talking about this today because I have seen countless podcasters get so excited about their podcast idea, the show that they've been thinking about for years and years, the show that they know is going to change everything, but for some reason can't seem to get past that initial concept and creation phase. And we're going to talk about 3 ways that you are subtly sabotaging your podcast launch without even knowing it. And the first place that we're going to start is overthinking and delaying instead of launching. Now, it's no secret that there are so many decisions that you need to make when you're launching a podcast. Some of us have a lot of clarity on what those different things are, like your intro, outro, cover art, show description, name of the show, and all of that. And some of us are not as clear and might need a little bit more time to refine those elements. I think it's important to make sure that you have a plan and what you're creating is in alignment with your bigger brand or business or messaging that you have. The challenge that I see very often is people get stuck in the nitty-gritty details. People get stuck in the specific colors on the cover art. Should this image go here or should it not? Having 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 versions of graphics. These are symptoms of perfectionism. That and redoing your intro over and over and over again, refining your script over and over and over again. Starting to play around with the tech when you're not quite at that phase yet is a huge way that people self-sabotage. Because when you go in and you start with the most complex things first without building a plan, you create so much external stress and external chaos because you actually can just follow a very, very simple plan to launching. But sometimes when we get stuck debating the perfect microphone, going back and forth on your intro, outro, recording and re-recording the trailer, picking 18 different tracks of music, it's inevitable that we won't get to the actual launch part of the podcast because we're so stuck in the details. And the details are important, but when they're not important is when it's creating self-sabotage and perfectionism. I have seen this time and time again that all of these little details compound. They create overwhelm. They lead to perfectionism, and then perfectionism becomes the reason why you don't launch your show. One thing that I'm a huge fan of is done is better than perfect. Just start, record, put your stuff out there, and launch your show. You can continue to refine and make changes and make edits as you go. I have personally rebranded my podcasts so many different times. Happiness Happens, I'm pretty sure I rebrand every single year pretty much. And as it relates to podcasting, I started this out as a guest podcast, like where I would bring on co-hosts. And now I do solo episodes and an occasional roundtable with my team every single month. So what I'm saying is no one is expecting you to hit the airwaves with the most perfect thing right off the bat. But what people could be anticipating is for you to step outside of the fear, step outside of the discomfort, and step into your message, step into the power that comes with actually launching your show. This brings me to my next point, which is skipping strategy and just hoping for growth. This is something that I am so passionate about because I worked in marketing, PR, communications, media buying, ad buying, and all that for all of the years that I worked in corporate before I decided to go out on my own. And what I know to be true about marketing is that marketing requires strategy. And it's not just marketing a podcast that requires strategy, but it's how does your podcast launch fit into your overall marketing plan for your business, for your brand, for whatever it is that you are doing or creating. It needs to have its own marketing strategy. And when I say marketing strategy, it doesn't mean that it has to have this crazy elaborate plan. But what it should have, and I hate using the word should, but what it should have is some kind of plan behind what you're creating. And the reason why is because a lot of the times, especially in the world of podcasting, without having a plan, it's very easy to fall off. If you don't know which episodes you're releasing and when, if you don't have a production schedule, if you don't have a launch plan to go with your show or target key dates, those things make it very, very difficult to hit your targets. And it actually makes it really easy to fall off your podcast launch overall. So I know we get overwhelmed when people say, oh my God, another strategy. Oh my God, marketing. Oh my God, this and that and whatever. But I'm telling you that it's really important to have some kind of strategy, even if your strategy is just key milestones and key dates. And the reason why is because these are the things that will keep you aligned to where you want to go. You want to make sure you know who you're talking to. You want to make sure you know who your audience is, who your niche market is, who it is that you're targeting with your message, especially if your goal or your plan is to make money from your podcast. And when you launch without a plan, you're kind of just launching into the wind. And that's fine for some people, but you're probably not going to see the impact or growth that you were hoping for or anticipating if you do that. If there's no intentional launch strategy or marketing plan behind your show, you're going to fall on pretty much no listeners. And it's going to be harder for you to continue to grow and to be seen by the people that you want to find your podcast. Creating a podcast is a lot of work. And doing it consistently is also a lot of work. And it becomes a lot of work, especially when you don't have a plan in place. So that is my biggest caution and plan and tip for you, if you will, is to make sure that you're doing that. Clarify who you're speaking to, create a plan, stick to that plan, and then you can start to leverage collaborations for even more visibility. The third way that you are subtly sabotaging your podcast launch is by ignoring your SEO and your searchability right from the get-go. People need to understand what your podcast is about. And the way that they do that, especially when you're new to the airwaves, is through your show name and through your show description. When you are self-sabotaging your show, your episode title, your show title, and your show description will not have any keywords in it whatsoever. And it'll be harder for people to find you and harder for people to search for you because your content is not coming up as the answer to their problem. The second piece here is relying solely on social media versus the searchability in the podcast apps like your Apple Podcast, Spotify, so on, so on, so on. While social media is an amazing growth tool, and we love social media for being able to help us reach even more people that we may not have been able to reach before, when we focus in on the SEO and the searchability of the podcast at the platform level, that is where you start to become the answer and the solution to people's questions because your content is now searchable. So in order to make sure that you're doing this, using keyword-rich titles is super important, as well as your show descriptions and making sure that your podcast is populating in every single podcast app. You'd be so surprised how many strategy reviews I do for people who have podcasts already, and they're not even on every single podcast app available, which is so crazy to me. So make sure that you have those three things. And another way that you can take a look at different keywords or see how your keywords are, I'll give you a couple of tools. The first one that I like to use is Answer the Public. Second one I like to use is Keywords Everywhere. Google Keywords Planner is a good one as well. And then on YouTube, I like to use TubeBuddy. So you can grab the links for those in the episode notes below. Let me know what you took away from this episode today. Let me know what resonates the most. And I hope this is inspiring for you as you're launching your own podcast or perhaps even launching one for somebody else. Please reach out to me and let me know what you think. And if you want to go even further, feel free to book a discovery call. The link is also in the episode notes below. And I do strategy reviews for podcasters, creators, and small business as well. And so with that, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today.